Well, a very good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking at this hour. Rupee falls to a record low against the dollar. One US dollar now costs more than 82 rupees. The Indian currency has depreciated by 8 rupees so far this year. Stock markets recovered in the last hour to pare most of the losses. Sensex and the Nifty end the week with gains of over 1%. All sectoral indices end the week with gains except the Nifty FMCG index. Monthly jobs growth slows in the United States, but unemployment rate also drops to 3.5%. Shares on Wall Street decline at open as the job market remains strong despite rate hikes from the US Federal Reserve. Troubled Swiss lender Credit Suisse outlines a $3 billion debt buyback plan as it attempts to reassure investors about its future. The bank will also sell a famous hotel in Zurich and unveil a new business strategy later this month. Government invites expressions of interest to offload a total of over 60% stake in IDBI Bank and turnover management control. Government will sell over 30% stake and LIC will offer over 30%. The government notifies collateral-free debt funding scheme for startups. Startups which have stable revenue stream are not in default situation can avail the scheme. The maximum guarantee cover per borrower, however, shall not exceed 10 crore rupees. Hero Motocorp launches its first electric scooter at a starting price of 1.45 lakh rupees. Bookings start from the 10th of October and deliveries will begin from the second week of December. The world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, temporarily suspends its blockchain network after hackers made off with tokens worth $570 million. The CEO of Binance apologizes for the inconvenience and tells CNBC the issue has been contained and the funds are safe. The government set to expand the crackdown on surrogate advertising. Sources say the Consumer Protection Authority is set to issue notices to 6 alcohol and tobacco brands like 8 PM, Sterling Reserve, Seagram's Imperial Blue, Rajnikanda Vimal Pan Masala and Kamla Pasand. That's an exclusive. Election Commission writes to the Law Ministry to allow one candidate to fight from one seat according to sources. As per current laws, one candidate can contest from 2 seats. The festive season is on in full swing, but the markets in Jaipur are yet to get their mojo back. A ground report is coming up. Well, let's start with the Indian rupee, which fell to a new low today. Rising crude oil prices and a strengthening dollar index. Rupee plunged to a new low. One US dollar now costs more than 82 rupees. The Indian currency has depreciated by 8 rupees just this year. Lata Venkatesh is joining us now with a quick wrap of how the money markets are moving. Lata.
Well, no surprises that the rupee is under pressure. It's a double whammy. We have seen both crude prices and the dollar strength pressuring. It usually doesn't move together. When the dollar strengthens, commodities weaken a bit. But crude is rising for its own reasons because of output cuts announced by OPEC+. And that's, a good 9%. If you looked at the October 2nd, last week levels, it was ruling at about 86 and change, and now at 94.20 thereabouts per dollars per barrel. The rise is substantial. The other set of people who are buying are those who probably went short dollar, anticipating that India will get included in the bond index and there will be dollar inflows. So those short dollar positions are also getting covered now that that inclusion is not coming. The big buyers, dealers tell us over the past 2 days have been oil companies. The Reserve Bank is supplying dollars, but it is not trying to move the exchange rate. It's apparently looking like supplying only where the demand is, or at the level the demand is. Actually, the Reserve Bank would be happy with a gentle depreciation of the currency because the trade deficit, especially with China, is pretty wide. And the Indian rupee has appreciated versus the yuan. So a depreciation would be welcome. What the Reserve Bank fears more is depreciation anticipation. not depreciation itself. Dealers are talking about 80 to 50 as possibly the next level where a defense may come, and 83. But these are just wild guesses, you know. There's always that expectation in round numbers like 82.5 or 83, where they expect the Reserve Bank will come and support. Just a word on the bonds. The yields have gone up. They've been going up continuously for the past 2 or 3 days. Again, for the same reasons, anticipation of bond index inclusion not coming through. I mean, now it is confirmed. The dollar index, crude prices moving up. And finally, US yields also moving up. So everything is pointing to higher yields. 7.5 is higher than the highest point in September. The chances are that it can even go to 7.62, I mean the 10-year yield, which was the highest we saw in June.
Right, Lata, thanks a lot for that. Now, oil prices head towards a second consecutive week of gains, bolstered by a decision taken by OPEC and non-OPEC allies to cut production by 2 million barrels per day. This is the oil exporting group's largest supply squeeze since 2020 and comes despite concerns about recession and rising interest rates. Back home, a last-hour recovery on the Lal Street helped it snap its 3-week losing streak. Sensex and Nifty end the week with gains of over 1%. All sectoral indices end the week with gains except the Nifty FMCG index. The U.S. economy added 263,000 workers to non-farm payrolls in September. This was just below expectations. However, the unemployment rate was 3.5% lower than a forecast of 3.7%. Shares on Wall Street declined at open as the jobs market remains strong despite rate hikes from the U.S. Federal Reserve. One of Europe's largest bank, Credit Suisse, has offered to buy back debt worth $3 billion in a move aimed at reassuring investors about its balance sheet. Juliana Teitelbaum reports from London.
Well, the twists and turns continue for Credit Suisse. This morning, the stock is trading at the top of the stock 600, or up 5.5%. Moody's says it now expects Credit Suisse to suffer a total loss of $3 billion by the end of the year. An analyst from the ratings agency said the move could bring the embattled Swiss lender's core capital below the 13% level. Now, this comes as Credit Suisse announced it will buy back up to 3 billion Swiss francs worth of senior debt securities, saying it was taking advantage of market conditions. Shares in Credit Suisse have slumped in recent weeks amid concerns over its capital position. And here is the longer-term chart here for Credit Suisse. As you can see, it has come a long way, and the volatility continues.
Well, back home, the union government has invited expressions of interest for the privatization of IDBI Bank. Government plans to offload 30% stake it owns, along with another 30% that's held by the Life Insurance Corporation. So in all, the winning bidder will get a little over 60% shareholding and management control of IDBI Bank. Sapna Das spoke to the DPAM Secretary Tuhin Kanta Pandey on the modalities of this exercise and the government's expectations.
The government will keep a 15% residual equity, and LIC also will keep 19% residual equity for the time being. But this will be, subsequent to post this investment, it will be up to us to really decide as a time. There is a lock-in requirement of 40% for 5 years. That's a RBI requirement, so that the promoters which are identified, they are locked in for a certain period of, and they don't walk away. Going forward, it's important that, that the capital is further brought in for its growth, and it is put onto a further growth path, and then government and the LIC actually will exit, because in any case LIC was to exit, government was to exit, so this is not something which exit was not. The only thing is that, this decision has been taken to do it together in a strategic disinvestment manner.
Well, the government has notified a credit guarantee scheme to provide collateral-free loans to eligible startups. The scheme will cover loans or debt facilities sanctioned on or after 6th of October. According to the eligibility criteria, only those startups recognized by the DPIIT and those who have reached a stable revenue stream can avail of this credit facility under the scheme. They won't be eligible if they are in default to any lending institution or classified as non-performing assets. Each eligible startup can borrow up to 10 crore rupees.
Under this scheme, specifically, we will be covering both transaction-based and it will be umbrella-based. So you will have the member lending institutes can be banks, NBFCs, and also venture debt funds. So these are new kinds of funds that sort of do venture debt funding for startups. They will also be covered. The maximum guarantee, we will be covering up to rupees 10 crores in individual cases.
Ma'am, how many startups will benefit from this scheme, and what more is being presented for startups due to this?
If you see an average loan size, let's say up to 5 CR, so we see around 1,500 startups will be benefiting in phase 1. And after considering the popularity of the scheme and how well it goes down with the ecosystem, well, we might be thinking of extending the scheme further with more sanctions.
Indian Railways gives superfast status to 130 mail express services, hikes their fares as well. The Railways Ministry says that the average speed of all trains increased by about 5%, leading to availability of nearly 5% additional parts for more trains. Meanwhile, the RBI has released a concept note on its digital currency. Central Bank says it will soon commence the pilot launch of e-Rupee for specific use cases. The central bank said that the purpose behind the issue of the concept note is to create an awareness about the digital currency and its planned features. The world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, temporarily suspends its blockchain network after hackers made off with tokens worth $570 million. The CEO of Binance apologizes for the inconvenience and tells CNBC the issue has been contained and the funds are safe. He also claimed that they have managed to limit the damage to about $100 million.
What has to be done, I think, the industry, as an industry, we just got to learn how to learn from this kind of mistakes and make our code more secure. But software code is never bug-free. So, but in the blockchain world, whenever there's a bug, it could result in very large losses. This is one of the cases that happened. But we were able to minimize quite a lot of the damage to less than 100 million now.
Meanwhile, the Consumer Affairs Ministry has issued notices to 6 alcohol and tobacco brands over surrogate advertising. Timsy Jaipuria is joining us now. Details, Timsy, take us through the details of some of these companies who received these notices and what are the grounds being cited here in those notices?
Well, in a major development, sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the Central Consumer Protection Authority, under the aegis of Ministry of Consumer Affairs, has issued notices to 6 alcohol and tobacco brands for surrogate ads. Notices have been sent to 8 PM Premium Black, Sterling Reserve, Seagram's Imperial Blue, Rajnigandha Pan Masala, Vimal Pan Masala, and Kamla Pasand Pan Masala. CCPA has asked all the 6 brands to submit detailed response in writing for violating the advertising guidelines in a month's time. And they've also been asked by the Consumer Protection Authority to discontinue these surrogate ads with immediate effect, as they have a negative impact on the consumer sentiment. Let's see how soon CCPA gets responses and how soon the ads get discontinued. Back to you.
Right, Timsy, thanks a lot for that. The Tamil Nadu governor has promulgated an ordinance to ban online gambling in the state. The government brought in an ordinance a few months back to ban online rummy, which was struck down by the Madras High Court. So this is the second attempt at the ordinance route. The state reported a spate of suicides that were allegedly linked to online gambling. The Karnataka State Transport Authority has issued a notice to discontinue auto rickshaw services on app-based aggregators for the next 3 days. The authorities claim the move comes after several complaints from customers of overcharging on these platforms like Uber, Ola, and Rapido. In the aviation space, sources from Go First tell CNBC-TV18 that the airline will file a fresh DRHP for its proposed IPO. Sources say the airline is waiting for the right time to enter financial markets, adding that the current market conditions are not conducive. Sources also say that the airline has a strong support from its promoters and there is no uncertainty on its ability to continue as a going concern. Hero MotoCorp launches its first electric scooter called Hero Vida V at the company's Center for Innovation and Technology in Jaipur. The bookings will start from October 10th and the deliveries will begin in the second week of December. Vida V1 will be launched with a top speed of 80 kilometers per hour and fast charging of 1.2 kilometers per minute.
Vida is life.
Yes, Hero MotoCorp has finally launched its first electric vehicle in the market, the Vida V1. So you've got two variants of the scooter right in front of me here, the Vida V1 Plus. This comes at a starting price of 1.45 lakhs ex-showroom. It gives you a range of 143 kilometers in a single charge, according to the company. And this is the top variant of the scooter, the premium variant, the Vida V1 Pro. This comes at a starting price of 1.59 lakhs ex-showroom and gives you a range of approximately 165 kilometers in a single charge. The top speed is almost the same, 80 kilometers for both these scooters. Now, what Hero MotoCorp says, remember, they're also late to the market when it comes to electric vehicles, at least 2 to 3 years than some of the other leading players in the electric vehicle market. So what Hero says would be a differentiator is that it will give you a complete EV ecosystem, which includes a charging network of Vida, which will be there in Bengaluru, Delhi, Jaipur, where the scooter will be rolled out initially. You'll get easier financing schemes, which will offer you lower interest rates than the market as well, strong buyback guarantees, repair on-site facilities, software that will allow you to customize your riding modes, your acceleration, your performance of the vehicle as well. So Hero MotoCorp betting extensively on these scooters and hoping it will be able to get a big chunk of India's EV market in the near future. From Hero MotoCorp Center for Innovation and Technology here in Jaipur, with video journalist Pradeep Kumar, this is Parikshit Luthra.
Well, coming up next, the festive season is on in full swing, but the markets in Jaipur are yet to get their mojo back. A ground report when we come back. The festive season is on in full swing and businesses across the country are trying to recover from the 2 years of lockdowns, the impact of Russia's invasion in Ukraine and rising inflation. But the recovery is evident only in pockets, and as CNBC-TV18 Santya Gora reports, the main market in Jaipur is yet to get its mojo back. Take a look.
This is Jaipur Parkota Market, home to over 5,000 shops and the heart that makes Jaipur India's pink city. Inside this market sits Johari Bazaar, by far the most famous landmark and the busiest section of the Parkota. But for the 400 shops that operate in Johari Bazaar, the last 2 years have been tough. First, because of 2 years of a lockdown that kept both domestic and international shoppers away, and then due to rising inflation that has put a dampener on discretionary budgets. The market usually enjoys 2 festive seasons in a year, but the last couple of seasons have not brought much cheer, nor have the traditionally lucrative wedding seasons.
अब के जो अप्रैल मई जून की शादी थी उसमें मार्केट में काम में उठाव नहीं था, व्यापार कम था बहुत, तो मार्केट में उठाव आएगा। इससे पहले का जो 3-4 महीने का बाजार था उसमें व्यापार बहुत कम था।
The pain is not restricted to jewelry stores. Shopkeepers and businessmen in Parkota say that average revenues, which used to comfortably cross 1,000 crore rupees per year before the pandemic, fell to low single digits during the lockdowns and saw only a modest revival when the export markets opened up. Footfalls are yet to reach pre-COVID levels, and 47-year-old Ranu Jandal, who runs an upscale garment showroom in Johari Bazaar, says that even those customers who have returned are a lot more cautious in opening up purse strings.
अभी तक कस्टमर 100% के लेवल पे नहीं आया है। उसका रीजन सेंटिमेंट्स कुछ भी आप कह सकते हैं कि आज कस्टमर अपने हाथ में पैसा रख के चलना चाह रहा है या उसको अभी भी वो वेट कर रहा है स्पेंडिंग्स के लिए। प्री कोविड के लेवल तक लगभग आ गए हैं, बट और जो बेटरमेंट चाहिए वो नहीं मिल रहा है अभी।
Around 2 kilometers away lies Jaipur's Jayanti Bazaar. This is a hub for electronics and appliances and houses 52 shops that account for 35% of Rajasthan's overall electronic appliances sale. While sales were off to a slow start this year, shopkeepers say the recovery has picked up with the advent of the festive season, outstripping other categories. However, businesses in both markets are pinning their hopes on things picking up as Diwali comes closer.
Season has just yet started, so we cannot say that we have touched the pre-COVID level, but the sales which are running right away in these days are good compared to the COVID level which was running. We all are expecting this Diwali will make some good sales figures out.
अब हमें उम्मीद है कि जो आने वाला सीजन आ रहा है, दिवाली या शादियों का सीजन, उसमें बाजार काफ़ी अच्छा उठेगा और व्यापार काफ़ी अच्छा आएगा.
The state government tried to give these businesses a leg up by organizing an expo in August, but that has had limited impact. Some of these shopkeepers had hoped that business would pick up once festive demand kicked in, but so far that has not materialized. Even tried and tested sales techniques like discounts and offers are also not finding many takers, and with high inflation putting a dampener on discretionary spending, businesses here continue to face some tough times. In Jaipur, with camera person Milind Wagmare, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
Well, in international headlines, US President Joe Biden has warned the world could face an Armageddon if Russia's Vladimir Putin uses a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine. In a stark assessment, Biden says that this is the closest the world has come to a nuclear disaster since the 1960s. And well, to the latest coming in from Ukraine, the death toll from a Russian missile attack on apartments in southeastern Ukraine has risen to 11. The bodies of 8 civilians were recovered under the rubble of a residential house. At least 15 people are still missing. Ukraine's Orthodox Church has been left divided after the war in Ukraine. Politics continue to cloud the gatherings of the faithful. That's not all. More than 200 churches have been bombed so far. Sanjay Suri reports from the famous St. Michael's Church in the city of Kyiv.
Mass is held at St. Michael's in Kyiv under political clouds and across a deep divide with the Russian Church over the war. The Orthodox Church of Russia has supported Putin in this war. The Orthodox Church of Ukraine is supporting its soldiers by way of sending chaplains to the front to give them spiritual solace and strength in their fight. What in times of peace may have been differences have in times of war become a division. The flock here is shocked by the war and shocked by the blessing to it by the church on the other side in the name of God.
We all see what they are doing, and in fact my father, he was born in Russia, he's Russian, and he lives in Ukraine, and he is 80 years old now, and until now he cannot believe what is happening.
The church believes that God's ways will finally find a way that is just.
Sooner or later, this regime will fall, because Putin is not someone who have eternal life on this earth.
The Orthodox Church of Ukraine has about 300 chaplains on the front lines with the soldiers.
Our priests who serve as a chaplains now with Ukrainian soldiers on the front line to support their spirit, to give them opportunity for sharing prayer, to give them blessing even as a time of last minutes of their lives.
The division that the war has sharpened goes back much further. An 18th century cathedral on the site, built over an old church going back to the Middle Ages, was demolished by the Soviets in the 1930s. The church as we see it was rebuilt as recently as 1999 after Ukraine gained independence in 1991. The church has reinvented its ways just as it has rebuilt its structure. Among other things, it now offers worship online.
Here we have the app. It have name My Church.
You can go to the church where it is, or the church can come to you where you are.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on India Business Hour. A quick programming note, though. Our special series, India at 2047, is back. And tonight at 10 p.m., we put the spotlight on research-linked incentives that can bolster India's position in the global healthcare value chain. We will be joined by Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw of Biocon, Sunita Reddy of Apollo Hospitals, and Professor Debashish Banerjee, a director at IIM Kozhikode.